Where is my daddy? This is a horrifying question for most mothers to address when a tragedy happens to their child's father, but for some, they have that speech already written and rehearsed, waiting for that moment because a child knows when you're lying. Will Chance's son ever ask questions about Chance? Will he know who Chance is? Will he know the rodeo legacy his father and uncles created for him and the other future Englebert children? Will he know how deep the Englebert roots run? Will he know his grandparents, great grandparents, uncles, aunts, or cousins? Will he ever be able to roam the Englebert ranch and hear the funny stories about things his dad and uncles did when they were his age while tagging along behind his grandfather throughout the pastures of time? Or will he have a replacement daddy by that time those hard questions arise? Will he be adopted by the new daddy, destroying all knowledge and inclinations of future references of the Englebert name? Chance's son's path will cross the path that is being laid down today because faith will have its way, and it will be an awful tragedy to erase a child's ancestry and family legacy because of transgressions of those missed opportunities to walk the path of truth. These secrets of truth are being revealed through the eyes of strangers. Let's take a trip back in time before we witnessed the seven deadly sins working like maggots, all wrapped up in one personality. Back before the inauthentic psychic was tripping on phone apps. Back before the false witnesses and their tangled web of lies. Back before we watched justice take flight and crash and burn. Back before it was cool to be rude to grandmothers on social media and blaming medication for the rudeness. Back before we found out there's body dumping grounds in Deering, Nebraska. Back before the vows of death do us part were spoken and taken literally. Back before everyone Chance loved was dragged through the hell's fury just to keep the secrets buried. People like Chance can't help but to attract people of all kinds, but there is a certain breed of people that are envious of people like Chance. They are soul takers. They take the joy out of people like Chance by isolating them from people and things they love just to make sure they only love them. They destroy family and friendships because of jealousy and fear of the love they have for others, manipulating and controlling everyone and everything in their path. Chance must have been quite a catch. He's got the twinkle in his eye and that $1,000,000 smile. He's the son of a ranch owner and a champion rodeo rider. He builds cars as a hobby, a hell of a friend and brother, and one thing that's clear, he loves his mama. The signs were there early on that the marriage was failing. Most of the time, the news of conception is joyful and a happy experience, but to some women, they feel empowered and entitled and will reap what others have sowed.
I've never met anybody more excited to be a dad. Like, when I found out I was pregnant, I was freaked out, and he was literally jumping up and down. He was so excited.
And bogart the harvest that is not theirs. Dawn Englebert was excited to gain a daughter-in-law and a grandchild, but the joy was short-lived. It was evident she lost Chance before July 6, 2019. She lost him when the wedge was driven between them by the mother of her unborn grandchild before she was even given the Englebert name. They say the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world. It most definitely started rocking the Englebert's family's world when the pregnancy test showed positive. It takes a very special person to love like Dawn did, even when she knew there was forces behind the scenes working against her. She loved the idea of having a daughter-in-law. She cherished that day. Her soon-to-be daughter-in-law invited her to come along to look at wedding dresses, and she was more than happy to help pay for it, showing her love and appreciation for the new bride. They had a great day. The day in life seemed excellent, but her happiness was short-lived when she received a phone call later on that day from an angry Chance, telling her to stop doing things for his wife-to-be. Then his wife-to-be called her and said she didn't like people buying her love. Now, it's okay for Chance's mother-in-law to take her daughter and grandchild to body dumping grounds, but it's not okay for Dawn to help purchasing a wedding dress? I'm not sure what's wrong with this picture. Fast forward to the wedding reception. It's been stated they got into a huge argument at the wedding reception because his family came to the wedding. It's understandable that Chance did not know any other way but to do what any upstanding young man that was raised with morals would do. He put a ring on it. But that small band of gold became a bull ring that brought him to his knees and made him submit to things he otherwise would not have. He did it for the love of his child, even though it was costing him chaos in his family. Chance's case is such a controversial case because he seems to have just disappeared into thin air. But we know people just don't disappear. There's always a reason for a disappearance. Who would want someone like Chance gone? That is the question law enforcement has not been able to answer or prove beyond a reasonable doubt. Here we are a year later and are not any closer to knowing what happened to Chance Englebert. What do we know is the ones Chance loved the most has came under great scrutiny for their efforts and love for him. Even though Chance's wife asked about a death certificate several times, the first time being a couple days after his disappearance, she even called his new place of employment he was due to start work at on Monday after the disappearance and told them not to hold his job. Why would she do this? Unless she knew he wasn't coming home. Why would she do this at all? Chance's best friend Matt Miller and his wife Tanya have felt the ugly weight of public opinion led by the unofficial controllers of this case. They have been targeted by attacks just because they care and want to find Chance. Even an amateur search team came in throwing around accusations about Matt's search team and even tried to do a social media launching showing their unprofessionalism and how unsympathetic they were to the fact Chance was missing. It was stated they were brought in by Chance's wife's family, the same ones that refused to join in on Matt's searches or any other searches for that matter. There was also the guy that acted like he genuinely cared about Chance's family and proclaimed he wanted to help, but then verbally assaulted Chance's grandmother on social media and claiming his meds needed adjusted. There have been so many people that have been of great help, don't get me wrong, but then again, Chance's family and friends have seen their share of fakes and evildoers. It's happening every day in certain Facebook groups. To attack a missing man's family, even his grandmother, on a daily basis is tasteless and tacky. But it's been said it's being fed to these bullies by no other than the ones that are unofficial controllers of this case. Why would Chance's wife's family not want Chance to be found is the biggest question that has to be asked. Why attack Chance's family so disrespectfully when they were not the ones that were there that day that caused the altercation with him? And they were not the last ones to lay eyes on him. They are not searching in secret nor exploring body dumping grounds. How in the hell do they know where bodies are dumped anyways?
Think of another spot that you could have dumped the body or something, then
Why can't the families work together? Why can't Chance's family see the baby? These are the questions that so many have been overwhelmed with. And you wonder why there's so many rumors. This case has been sabotaged from the very beginning. The use of a barn was offered to Matt Miller and his search team for a command post for the searches, but as quickly as the information was released, someone set the barn on fire. Oh, by the way, horse manure can only catch fire at 3 to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. Even the auction that was to raise money supposedly for Chance's son and wife was shady. The items that were being auctioned off was withheld from certain people. People with money that were willing to spend thousands of dollars for certain vacation rentals, their bids were unexpectedly removed for no reason, and no reason given when they were removed from the group, in which led others questioning, was it all a scam, or was it their way of trying to rule who would bid and who would win? But of course, the person running the auction was indirectly related to Chance's wife's family. There have been some wonderful psychics that have given their insight on Chance's whereabouts, but unfortunately, there has been some that are not psychics and only piping in for the attention. Before someone listens to any psychic, they need to research what psychic abilities are and what insight they can offer so you don't foolishly foul or waste your time or money on the fakes. Remember, a psychic gives you answers with limited questions and they don't use phone apps to communicate with the deceased. Another huge question we were contacted with was, how did Chance's wife come up with Chance's parents' bank statements that showed there was a deduction on a life insurance policy? Chance's father's, that is. It seems earlier on in the case, Chance's wife took a document to law enforcement officers that was not working on the case. He wasn't even employed by the county Chance disappeared in. He was just Chance's wife's friend. It seems she has been trying to chase a paper trail of money since Chance first disappeared. First, the death certificate for Chance's 401k, then what she thought to be a insurance policy on Chance. Scared to ask the Engleberts herself, how many of you remember Chance's wife's post before she deleted her Facebook? Yes, we remember them too. We also remember how quickly she shut her Facebook down as she seen the public start seeing her story of the events that happened on July 6th were not adding up, as she blamed it all on death threats. Come on, you know why she shut it down so quickly, and it wasn't because of threats. If you tell the truth, the story will be the same each time it's told. One of the posts said they had a fuss and he left mad, but that story changed. Now she claims they never fussed that day and she only stopped at her grandparents to grab their clothes so they could go home. But yet, she takes the baby out of the car seat. She also claimed her and her grandfather went looking for Chance, but later the story changed and her grandfather disappeared from the story. Let's not forget her words. I didn't believe he would really do it. So, did Chance tell her he was leaving that day? Was this the beginning of a separation? Does him walking away in anger stem back to the argument at the golf course? What did she think that he would not do? Remember, Chance's wife changed Chance's and Matt's plans for the holiday at the last minute and announced they would be spending it in Nebraska. They also argued the night before they left for Nebraska while they were out having dinner with friends. Then Chance disappears. What was the disagreement really about at the golf course? Why are people believing the story that was given? Do we really know what was said that day? No, no, we don't. When Chance's wife is asked about their conversation from the golf course to the grandparents' home, his wife seems to remain silent without any response. Why keep it a secret?
And that's just a lot of people who don't know anything. They want to try to, he was just trying to put it on me. We did not have an argument at all. He was upset. It was one of my family members.
And that was her response when asked what their conversation was from the golf course to the grandparents' home. Is it really that bad? Chance's wife said on another podcast that when she walked up to her family that day at the golf course, Chance told her to get back in the effing car. She looked around and everyone looked confused. Why would they look confused? They were just involved in a heated argument, maybe? So she says. Chance being angry would have definitely been justified. Now tell me, if they were not in an argument, why would he not have told her he was walking south instead of in the direction where his phone pinged? He would not have called a friend that was 4 hours away to come and get him if he wasn't mad at his wife. Then you have the ring video that no one knows if it is truly Chance. Yes, it definitely looks tampered with, that's for sure. She said she talked to Chance a couple of times on the phone and searched for him for a while and then went home and went to bed. Yep, she went to bed while her husband was missing. I seen a couple of calls for 1 minute on the phone log, and I'm guessing it wasn't much of a conversation and a handful of voicemails. A bartender has stated he was at one of the local bars. Is this just another rumor? Maybe. I just can't get over the fact that she went back to her grandparents' house and went to bed while he was missing. It just makes no sense whatsoever. Matt is actually the one that got the ball rolling by messaging Dawn, then Dawn contacting another friend, and they called Chance's wife to see what was going on and persuaded her to call Chance's parents. What would have happened that day if Chance had not called Matt? Would the case have played out differently? When would his family have found out? Why would she take her hired search team to Owl Road? According to the video, Chance's wife donated a pair of socks that Chance had worn months prior to the search, and they tracked him from the house he left walking from to Owl Road. To know he had socks that had not been washed in over 2 months is disturbing itself. According to the video, they contacted law enforcement to give them their findings, and the story of the search stopped. It was stamped confidential, and of course, Chance's wife refused to release the information. Other sources stated law enforcement brought their own dogs in and found absolutely nothing. After this, the landowner banned all searching in that area for a while. The same land used to be owned by a family member or acquaintance of Chance's wife's family. Why would Chance take that path, is my question. A path he knew nothing about. Chance was set on going home, and it's hard to convince the public that he would have deviated off the main road onto a back road that is well guarded with security cameras and possibly light. Some say a horrific storm hit the area at that very same time Chance left. They even go as far to say he may have ran to the trees on Owl Road to take shelter from the storm. Don't let people insult your intelligence. Chance was a smart young man that grew up on a ranch, and to think he would have ran under a tree during a thunderstorm to take shelter is preposterous. To think he fell in the river near Owl Road and drowned is another rumor put out there by the unofficial controllers of the case. Many people and crime organizations have been accused of causing Chance's disappearance. Do you remember the Romanians? I do. One of Chance's wife's family favorite stories. The Romanian mob killed him. They just happened to see a country boy walking down the road during a thunderstorm and decided to abduct and murder him. If that story wasn't convincing enough, they added that Chance's wife was going to set the Romanian mob up and get abducted by them so she could find out if they murdered Chance. But yet, she deactivated her social media because of threats. They've been watching way too much television. Did everyone get to enjoy the recorded phone conversation with Chance's mother in law? The conversation where she stated her girls were going to get abducted by the Romanians? Due to the fact the woman who recorded the conversation has messaged us and complained, and let me add that she was the one who recorded it without knowing and posted it all over social media in a group. We will no longer play the mother speaking about her daughter plotting a scheme of being abducted by the Romanians. It's nice to know this woman still lingers in the backgrounds. Oh, what angels we have here. The wife's mother has stated in the conversation that a day or two after Chance's disappearance, there was a bunch of those Romanians with their big fancy cars, and they don't have those kind of cars on Terry Boulevard. B stated maybe she should let them kidnap her and use herself as bait to try to find Chance. That's about as ridiculous as the claim of the woman who screen recorded the mother in law's calls saying she does it for the fact of her disability. Just once again, someone taking the spotlight off of what is really important. She goes on to misconstruing stories of what has happened in the past in Chance's family. How can she possibly condone anything that the Engleberts have done to or against their children when her own child is the last person to see a missing person and ask for a death certificate 3 days after they disappeared? Then casting innuendos as if Chance was buying drugs that night. She should have been asked, who was he buying them for, if that was the case? The phone. What's the odds of a cell phone being found on the porch of Chance's house that day after he disappears? The one that belonged to the homeless truck driving bum that was a barfly that liked to sit on Chance's porch to steal his Wi Fi to watch YouTube? Yeah, that phone. The one that a friend found and called Matt to let him know there was a suspicious phone laying on the missing man's porch. What's even more suspicious is the phone call Matt made to Chance's wife, letting her know he was on his way to pick it up. What does she do? She gets a neighbor to go get the phone before Matt arrives at the house. Matt calls the neighbor, and the neighbor told him this phone has nothing to do with Chance, so he's going to Deadwood and isn't going to turn it in at that moment. The neighbor takes the phone on an overnight trip with him, out of state, that is, to Deadwood, South Dakota. Even though this could have been a huge piece of evidence for Chance's case, he turned it in on Monday to Gillette, Wyoming police, then on to DCI in South Dakota. How do we honestly know the phone was not switched? We don't. How does this guy know instantly that the phone had nothing to do with Chance when he talked to Matt? We don't. Because Chance's wife told him it didn't? If this guy was Chance's good buddy out of concern for his missing friend, why wait till Monday? Why did he take it upon himself to tamper with possible evidence? Not to mention, to just so happen to have a charger that fit it, charge the phone that was wet, and it gets to turn on to see 3:28 Saturday, July 6th, and it dies forever. It seems many things have been done for attention, like wearing Chance's prized belt buckle or taking a baby to a supposedly body dumping ground. Yes, she nursed, but that's what pumps are made for. How well can you search with a child on your hip? Or did these so called searches that were done every morning with an infant even happen at all? No one ever witnessed any of these searches. I didn't. Did you? And to say your mother has searched more than anyone is quite the stretch, being she was finding out where the next searches were going to be and went and searched there a day or so ahead of time of everyone else. Why would she do that? Why not search with normal searchers at a scheduled search? Why not search with Matt? Why not search with anyone. Matt's searches, or any search without a doubt, makes these people nervous. Is it because he knows the way Chance thinks? Or has Chance told him some things about his wife that the wife is scared it will go public? Is that why Chance's wife was so jealous of him? Maybe the jealousy is actually fear. Whatever it is, she could not make Chance turn against Matt like she had with his family. Matt would not give her control of the donation money. While we're on the subject of donation money, Don had mentioned the derby they used to organize and that was being given in Chance's honor. Chance's wife came to the derby. It was about a year ago. She stood with Chance's family. And when someone handed some cash from the pit crew of a team to the Engelberts had told Chance's wife that all the money was going to a PI. $20,000 was needed to be put down. Chance's wife was surprised how much the PI was, and Dawn told her they were hiring the best for our boy. She let Dawn walk her to the car and let her kiss the baby, in which that was never allowed before. She got in the car that night and never came back. I can't never imagine never being allowed to love on my grandbaby. Ugh. Another person that we will call Dakota for the sake of keeping her name out of the spotlight intimidates their energy. This woman, Dakota, is an advocate for the missing. She's a fair lady. She welcomes anyone that can shed light on a missing person, but don't let her beauty fool you. She certainly don't mind asking the hard questions, and she is prepared for whatever answer you give. When she stopped by Chance's home, she only wanted to interview Chance's wife, just as any other reporter has done on this case. She nor her child was ever in any danger. The wife knows this. The popular opinion is she needed a good reason for not giving an interview and getting more media coverage and attention on Chance's case. Why would you not want the world to see you and the love you have for your missing husband? I don't know about you, but I noticed in the initial interview with the family and law enforcement at the briefing, it seemed that getting Chance's brother's attention to notice her and the baby was more important than what they were there for. If it hadn't been for Chance's mom pouring her heart out to the media, the whole interview would have never gotten many views. Dawn has tried her best to shelter Chance's wife from allegations and what exactly is her and her family's part in this case. They were the last ones that seen him alive. But how does the Engelberts get repaid for their kindness and generosity? Chance's child is not allowed to see Chance's family. What exactly is wrong with that? Why is she afraid to let the grandparents visit their grandson? Or is it fear at all? Is this child being used as a pawn or a weapon, a control mechanism? Can you even imagine the pain the Engelberts are in? Their child is missing, and the only person on this earth that is carrying his blood is their grandchild, but their daughter in law refuses to let them see the child, knowing it's all they have that's a direct link to their missing son. The truth is, we don't know, and it has not been proven what happened that night at 9:09 p.m. You can only take what someone tells you at a face value, but when that face starts to lose value as time goes by, you start to wonder. People are taking Chance's wife's word for it without proof. We really don't know if they arrived at the grandparents' house together that evening. We don't know what was said because her story about not arguing with Chance is becoming contradicted by Chance's actions. When he left walking, by telling her he was walking south when his phone pinged in a different area, by him not wanting to ride with her, by calling a friend 4 hours away to come and get him, by her own words, I didn't believe he would really do it. So I think it's safe to say they were arguing. We have been contacted and told a total different story about what happened, or should I say, a story that sounds more feasible, but has not been confirmed and may never be confirmed again unless someone comes forward. Due to the abundance of messages from the community, we are going to include the theory tonight. It has been said that while at the golf course, Chance's father in law was mad also, unlike the story that has been fed to the public by the family, and he left the golf course mad and intoxicated and wrecked his vehicle by hitting a culvert. It was also said his girlfriend picked him up. I'm not sure if it was just a small fender bender and the vehicle was still drivable and she drove it home without calling law enforcement or not. The question is, if this is true, was law enforcement informed of this and did they check the damage to make sure there was no DNA on the wrecked parts of this vehicle? Or is this being swept under the rug like the phone from the porch? If this is true, but let me remind you, it has not been confirmed, but if it is true, when did he leave the golf course and where did he crash? He said he went home and passed out, but according to phone logs, his phone was being used. On the other hand, Chance's wife may be telling the truth, and he may have met someone on the highway that night that fatally harmed him. But that doesn't change the fact of the things Chance's family and friends' good names have been soiled for no reason except to take the spotlight off from the ones in attendance at the golf course on July 6, 2019. Chance's family and friends are the ones that have gone public in the media and hope someone somewhere knows and are willing to come forward with information. They have shown they have nothing to hide, especially their love for Chance. You do not hear them starting rumors about Chance's wife being on drugs. You don't hear them demanding a DNA test done on Chance's son to show plausible cause. There is no evidence of cease and desist letters being handed out like candy by the Engleberts because they have nothing to hide, even after the allegations made by Chance's mother-in-law. This case needs to be looked at with new eyes and ears, without being exposed to the rumors being spread by people that are trying to get the spotlight off from them, and get to the bottom to what really happened that night. The night that broke so many hearts just to lift responsibility off from others. It's been a year, Chance. Where are you? You have so many people searching and praying for you. You are not just a body under cement in a river or just a soul lost forever. You are and forever will be a father, a son, a brother, and especially a friend, and no one can take that away from you. You are irreplaceable to the ones that truly love you. Wherever you are, may peace be with you. If you have any information in regards to the night of July 6, 2019, or the whereabouts of Chance Englebert, we encourage anyone with information about the investigation to contact the Gearing Police Department at 308-436-5088 or the anonymous tip line at 724-4